What's cracking, traders? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon GO Battle League content. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the team that took me to 2944 ELO in the Ultra League. This team was shared in my Discord from one of my members, and the team comes from 3DJMR159, so shoutouts to them for the team. I could have probably hit Legend with this team over the weekend, but I decided with Wild Area and everything else going on that I would just sit back, wait a minute, sit at the ELO that I'm at, and try to push on stream, which we do stream twice a week, Tuesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to be playing the Championship Cup this week, so hopefully we can push over the line. We only need 56 points, but this team got us pretty close, and I highly recommend trying this team out because it was really, really good. I mean, like, 3-4-1s and 2-2-3s were my sets for the day on Friday, and honestly, those 2-3s were really just me getting hard countered by things that I couldn't really have much chance to beat anyway. But Togekiss here on the lead with Legacy Aurasphere. Peck makes it have ridiculous pacing. And Psyshock is a really good coverage move. I did play my first set, which was a 4-1, just for, you know, the sake of reference. I had Dazzling Gleam, but I never really feel like I needed it, so I switched to Psyshock for the rest of the day, and it worked out pretty well. However, you could run Dazzling Gleam if you like. It's a personal preference thing. I like Psyshock. Speaking of preference, though, Gastrodon is the second member of this team, and we're going to be running it with Earth Power Body Slam. However, I definitely think that there's room for Water Pulse to fit in there somewhere if you like it better. I just didn't want to spend TMs, and I had Earth Power my Gastrodon already, and it had quite a few targets as well. I didn't want to get walled by Jellicent, which I felt like was going to happen, and of course, I didn't see any. But the final Pokemon on this team is going to be a Shadow Dusknoir. I need to put the Shadow icon on there, and honestly, this thing is a really busted save switch. If you don't have a Shadow, a regular will work just fine. The Ghost fighting coverage is really what helps it set it apart from other save switches in this meta right now. And that being said, let's get into the games here so I can show you guys some of this run. Getting into the first battle here, we are going to have our Togekiss up against the Gastrodon. And yes, there were definitely leads like this where it was just like, all right, we're just in a really good spot, and the opponent not swapping out of this matchup tells me they don't like the Togekiss. And that was the strength of this team, was the Togekiss on the lead was just so good. Now, the opponent's probably going to go for a Water Pulse here. I have not seen a whole lot of Earth Power Gastrodons unless I happen to be weak to them, but that's another story for another day. We're going to be going for Auraspheres here with proper, efficient move timing. We want to be going on 1, 4, 7, or 10 if we have to. Opponent does decide to put up a shield, and I'm going to take that opportunity to drop in my Dusknoir. Now, at some point, right, this is basically a team that is going to lure out whatever doesn't want to see Togekiss with the Dusknoir, and if they have a Galarian Moltres in the back, that's normally going to come out, and a Dynamic Punch plus a Shadow Punch puts this thing down in a really close to getting knocked out range, and normally you can get there if they just try to fully farm you down. Togekiss is going to come in here and going to be able to get one peck off before they decide to go for the charge move. They want to be able to knock this out. With all that energy, we're going to be looking to try to set up something with our Togekiss here, but the opponent pops out with that energy, and I'm going to drop in my Gastrodon here. I do know that Togekiss wins charge attack priority over the Moltres. The opponent does not have a move. They don't even, might not be running Body Slam. I mean, honestly, man, the way to go just might be to run double nuke Gastrodon. Body Slam was helpful in some cases, but I feel like maybe Water Pulse, Earth Power might be the way. But this is exactly the kind of thing that I ran Earth Power for, because there were so many poisons in the back that, like, Earth Power was just so good for it, and the opponent did not have the brutal swing. They might be on Sludge Overheat, which I've seen a few of those, but we're going to be able to pop them off with an Earth Power, but it's still not enough. But never fear, that's what we have Togekiss for. The Psyshock's going to hit for super effective damage and be able to knock out the Weezing and take the first game. Well played to the opponent. I had a lot more times where Psyshock came in handy over Dazzling Gleam, so just take that with what you will. The opponent gets a Shadow Primeape on the lead in the next game, and they're going to save switch into Shadow Dusknoir. Two Pokemon that have the gas, or the Ghost, not the gas fighting coverage, the Ghost fighting coverage here. And they're really powerful in this format. Now I'm going to drop in my Gastrodon here. I really don't feel like they're trying to bait this out, and so I'm going to try to use Gastrodon to absorb this energy and farm down and try to pressure the opponent's Primeape later on with this energy. They're going to go for the Shadow Punch, not quite enough here. I have a choice. I can either go for two, potentially two, or one Earth Power. I'm just going to go for two Body Slams or an Earth Power. I'm going to go for the Earth Power here just because it's only one move. I'm going to guarantee huge damage or a shield. I might have been able to get 2 body slams off, but it didn't really feel like it was worth the risk. The opponent is going to go for a charge move here, looking to get some chip damage on the Togekiss, probably before switching out. I'm not expecting them to have a Ice Punch. They're going to go for the Rage Fist, boost their attack up, and I'm going to, of course, have to shield after this, but the opponent, again, does not seem to appreciate the existence of this Togekiss. I'm going to shield and try to go for a this one shield farm down here and see if I can't get rid of this thing. The opponent going to go down, but they just barely survive. So I'm now committed. I'm going all the way in. Whatever they have in the back definitely does not like this Togekiss. The opponent has a Victory Bell on Acid. I did not react quick enough. Now, I'm gonna say before we go further on, I had seen like 2 Venusaurs today. Okay. I've seen like 2 Venusaurs before this Victory Bell, so I assumed this was a Venusaur and that I was going to be able to live the fast moves to get the Psy Shocks off, and then I get fast move down before I can even react to what happened. But the good news here is that we have a Dusknoir with the Shadow status, which means it's going to do a little bit more damage, and it should be enough to hit this thing with a Shadow Punch as long as the opponent does not have 2 moves, which they do not. We're going to be able to get the Shadow Punch off and be able to take out the Victory Bell. This is a Shadow on Shadow crime, and it does enough damage to get the knockout. Well played. I was really worried because I'm like, I'm going to kick myself if I don't fire off this Psy Shock, which I should have. But either way, we get another neutral lead here in the next game. Finally, the opponent's having a lead that they don't have to immediately have a problem with the Togekiss with. But that also means that I don't know what's in the back. There's a couple of Dusknoir lead teams floating around. I'm going to bait like I have the Dazzling Gleam because that would nearly one-shot a Dusknoir from that range. Now I'm going to drop in my own Dusknoir because I really haven't figured out how to play those leads out. Part of me wants to stay in and try to win alignment because most of the time the Dusknoir teams have the Guzlord and Credilli backline, which if I can get good alignment there, Dusknoir against the Credilli with Gastrodon against the opposing Guzlord, we're in a much better spot than if I were to like lure something out with Dusknoir. Because the unfortunate thing here is that this Credilli is now poised to give me a really bad time because it happens to be good against Gastrodon. However, I've also seen Galarian Moltres and I think some other stuff in the back. Usually it's Unova and Stunfisk. So that in that case, like, there's really no win condition for my team if I stay in with Togekiss because I kind of like, unless I can get Gastrodon to just deal with the Unova and Stunfisk, and somehow Dusknoir is going to be able to get to a Dynamic Punch and do some damage against the Moltres, which usually doesn't happen. So Gastrodon's going to come in here, and I don't know exactly how much damage Grassknot does. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I don't play a whole lot of Gastrodon in the Ultra League. I go for an attempted catch, not going to be successful. Now I just have to hope that the opponent is not going to be able to one-shot us with the Grassknot. But by the way, yeah, they do. And unfortunately, my Gastrodon goes down to a full double super effective Grassknot. All right, next game. Not a horrible lead, but definitely a weird one here. We have an Empoleon, and I have to drop into my Shadow Dusknoir in order to try to get the Togekiss away from it. Togekiss is fine in this matchup with energy, but I really don't want it to have to take all those metal sounds. Now, the opponent is going to drop in a Gastrodon to try and catch move, and they're still going to catch these hands because we have nothing but punch moves in this on this Dusknoir. But we're going to go for the Dynamic Punch here, and then look to go for a second one, and it looks like the opponent may have CMP tied us, or Charge Attack Priority tied. So we're going to be able to go first. The Dynamic Punch is going to connect, doing a bunch of damage, and wasting their energy here is really, really nice, because that is going to allow my Togekiss to over-farm, maybe even farm down if I want to, because having this much energy on Togekiss is going to be massive. The opponent seems to stop tapping for some reason. Maybe they got distracted. It happens to all of us at this point anyway. Or for all I know, the game was lagging. I don't know. I don't trust it. I don't trust the game enough not to put that as possibly one of the reasons. But the opponent, however, is going to come in with a Florges, which is really, really awkward for my Togekiss. But on the plus side, we have Gastrodon in the back for the Empoleon, which should just kind of secure the victory there, because the Mud Slaps are a little bit too much for the Gastrodon to overcome. And at this point, I'm just dedicating my Togekiss to dealing with this Florges, and the opponent is staying in, trying to overfarm. We get their shield at least, and I'm like, man, I'm just going to let this go. Chilling Water doesn't even secure a knockout here, and the opponent immediately switches in the Empoleon, trying to get that snipe farm down, but they're instead going to be met with these just fattest slug on this side of Sinnoh, and that's it. Good game. Well played. All right, next game. We're trying to lock in a 4-1 here, and we see a Kyurem. This is actually a really weird lead because, like, the Glaciates hit really hard. Opponent's going to drop in their Typhlosion, and as long as they're not running Solar Beam, I'm going to be okay. And you know what? I'm hoping they're not. If they are, then they, you know what? At that point, they probably win the game. But they're going to go for the Blast Burn. Most of them are going to have Thunder Punch. I'm going to go for a Body Slam here just to connect with some damage, maybe force a shield off the opponent before they can get to the next Blast Burn. They are going to let it go, but we now have energy to hit this Kyurem with, and I'm going to go full send this Earth Power because I would expect that most of them might think, hey, they might be on Water Pulse. No, I have had pretty much everybody call that I have Earth Power, so I'm like, man, I wish I had baited, because I probably would have been able to land the Earth Power had I baited with the Body Slam. But it's all good. I don't think that one Glaciate's going to be enough to knock out anyway, but the opponent has a lot of energy, and I've at this point completely lost count of exactly how much they have. But I'm going to tank one Glaciate, let the next go. Going to build up to another charge move, and then the opponent has a, what looks, I can't tell if that looks like Poison Jab to me. I remember looking at this in game, and I'm like, is this Poison Jab? It doesn't look like Acid. I think they're still on Poison Jab. So I kind of remember the pacing. I believe it was 8-7 for Scald. And so I'm going to try to use that knowledge and go for these moves with my Dusknoir. We are resisting the poison damage from them. However, as long as we don't get hit by a blizzard, we're going to be fine. The opponent does go ahead and go for a charge move. I'm letting it go regardless at this point, because if I have to, I can farm down with Togekiss, and we have energy to be able to hit the opponent's Kyurem later on. But now they're going to come in with the Kyurem. I'm still going to let this go. They're trying to combo play me. They want to go for the Glaciate debuffs, but at this point, as long as I can build up to 2 moves, I'm fine. And unfortunately, I build up just 1 too many, because again, I said I lost track of the energy on the Kyurem, which of course is a thing that happens. We're going to go for the Psyshock here. Really no reason to, but I'm going for it anyway. We're going to be able to get to 2 more pecks and go for the Psyshock to get this knockout on the opponent's Tentacruel, and that is going to be a good game. Well played. And I believe this was my second set of the day. A 4-1. I had a 4-1 right before this. And then we had 2-2-3s. Again, most of that was like hard counters, like Volt Switch, Forretress, and just, you know, Moltres and things that there's no way you can overcome that with the team, no matter how skilled of a player you are. I'm sorry. But in this next set, after we had 2-2-3s, we get to go for a 4-1 to finish the day. And I'm going to show that to you now because it was a very, very good set of how this team functions. And we're going to go for, whenever I see a Forretress lead, we go for 1 peck, and I look at the HP bar to see if they've done any damage. If they're doing damage by that first peck, I know they're on Bug Bite, I'm going to stay in for a bit. If the opponent does not do any damage, then there's a Volt Switch coming, and I'm going to immediately swap to Dusknoir after that first peck. But because they're on Bug Bite, I know that the pacing is not as good for them, and Togekiss is double resisting this damage. I'm going to get a first shield here. The opponent does have a Guzlord in the back to answer the Dusknoir. However, because we were able to get the Astonish in, we're going to be able to get to the Dynamic Punch pretty quickly here. And then we're going to be able to get to a Shadow Punch if the opponent overfarms, and a Brutal Swing here does not knock out. However, if I leave myself too healthy, that's going to be a really awkward health range for that Forretress to just get a bunch of free farm. But at this point, I would prefer to actually put my Gastrodon on the Forretress, because there's a good chance that they're just running Rock Tomb and Earthquake, which, I mean, Gastrodon's going to be able to deal with that a heck of a lot better than the Togekiss would, because it doesn't want to take those Rock Tombs. However, the opponent going to grab some energy on the Dusknoir and immediately switch into the Forretress here, and I'm just going to drop in my Gastrodon and look to go for a bunch of farm here. I would like to have some energy to hit them back with an Earth Power if possible, but at the same time, I really want to just get this off. So I go for the move right away because I want to guarantee that I'm going to get this damage, and the opponent doesn't even have enough energy for the Earth Power. And so at this point, we're kind of locked in just to be able to get this win. I'm going to go ahead and let this go. At this point, Togekiss has some energy. I need to get to 2 Psyshocks. They go for the Dynamic Punch. It's not enough, and I didn't think I had enough energy for the Earth Power, and I completely threw this game. They're going to go ahead and let that go. I need to get to the Psyshocks or get a farm down here. The opponent going to go for a move. They have a lot of energy. Shadow Punch is going to do quite a lot. Wouldn't do quite enough to knock out, but I'm going to go for the 1-2 punch of the Psyshocks just to see if I can get to 2 moves here, and thankfully we are. I could have also pecked down here, but I figured that this might be a safer way to go, and thankfully we're able to take it despite me blundering that Body Slam throw. Good game to the opponent. All right, next game, we got Togekiss on the lead here versus Drifblim. Speaking of things that are really awkward leads for this team, Goodness. I'm going to try to treat this similar to how I would have treated the Dusknoir lead. We're going to go for a Psy Shock here. Hope they're going to respect the Dazzling Gleam damage, in which case they do. They also have Icy Wind. Now, I'm going to go ahead and shield this up here because I would really prefer not to take super effective Icy Wind damage, and the opponent probably has a ground type of some sort in the back. If I'm lucky, it's not a Unovan Stunfisk. And I'm going to drop in my Dusknoir here, let the opponent throw this energy. It's just an Icy Wind. I don't think they even had enough for the Shadow Ball. And I'm going to go ahead and unleash a couple of Shadow Punches into the opponent's Togekiss that has just come in. So they're playing an ABA, or at least as far as we know, Flying Line, which is diabolical to say the least. But Togekiss, like, dude, I've been enlightened on Togekiss, man. This thing is just so good. Togekiss has energy, but not quite enough for a charge move. But I'm going to go ahead and throw this Ice Shock right now to try and cut off the opponent from being able to throw this energy. And they shield it up. So I also am like, man, I should respect this Dazzling Gleam. But in case they don't have it, I'm going to try to see if I can win this game with Gastrodon. However, the Drifblim is pretty healthy in the pack still, so I would have had a bad time trying to do that. Gastrodon comes in, opponent's got to Kyurem, and like at this point, I genuinely feel like I've completely gotten hosed in this game. ABA Flyers with Kyurem in the middle is an absolutely diabolical line that I never would have expected, and I don't even know how I'm supposed to get the energy together to get my Gastrodon to get a knockout on the Drifblim, especially not after getting debuffed twice. Now, the opponent doesn't have any energy on the Drifblim at least, but these Glaciate debuffs are absolutely murdering me, dude. And honestly, this is one of the games where I'm just wishing that I honestly had Water Pulse, because I think I could have actually won the game if I had had it. Opponent's going to come in with a Drifblim. I'm going to go for a little bit of an overfarm here, and if I had thrown Water Pulse here, would have been enough. I'm hoping a double resisted, double debuffed Earth Power is enough, but of course it's not. Opponent comes in with a Togekiss, and I realize that I cannot farm it down. And yeah, I'm just host here. So I'm going to go ahead and go for the Body Slam and get the knockout there. But the opponent is going to be able to live that one Mud Slap and take the game. Well played. That's one of the that's basically how the 2-3 sets went, were just games like that. By the way, here's another Drifblim for our viewing pleasure and my malding self. Anyway, we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to be looking to go for a Psy Shock here. Oh, he's not doing it. I thought he would start doing it. Icy Wind is going to get the shield from me here. I'm going to do the same thing I did last time, and I'm going to try to see if I can't connect with a Psy Shock. This time, go for the Dusknoir. Astonish down here if I can. The opponent is going to be able to get to the charge move, but again, this is just an Icy Wind, so I'm going to let this go and save the shield for later. I'm really hopeful that the opponent maybe, just perhaps, is weak in the back to Gastrodon after being so strong to it in the lead. I try to farm up as much as I can to see if I can get to 2 moves here, but unfortunately I go 1 too late. Dynamic Punch is only going to land once because the opponent's Mud Slap was enough to knock us out. I'm going to come in with my Togekiss here, and I am, like, grasping at straws at this point. They go for the Water Pulse. I'm going to use the energy that I've got on my Togekiss to try and go for an Aura Sphere that I didn't have any to start with, but that one peck that I got in allowed me to get to the Aura Sphere with reasonably good timing. The opponent is going to go ahead and shield up, and they have a Ninetales in the back. I'm going to bank a move on my Gastrodon because I know I can before they can throw a Weather Ball, and then I'm going to go ahead and swap into Gastrodon. I'm going to bank a move on my Togekiss and then swap to Gastrodon, and then the game starts lagging, and then everything is wonderful, and yay, and that's how this game is, man. Opponent's gonna full send that Dazzling Gleam before I can throw an Earth Power. I had no idea where the energy was at. I would have liked to throw a move before they had gotten to this, but unfortunately for me, not quite going to be the case, but we are gonna go for the Body Slam here. The opponent catches it on the Drifblim, and I'm like, are you kidding me, man? But we have a move on our Togekiss, and I'm going to go straight into it. Now that I see they bring in the Gastrodon, I'm going to go ahead and snipe him with the Aura Sphere and get the peck down because the opponent's Ninetales was super low and take the game. Well played to the opponent. Also, low-key, I love the A9. I think it's really good in this format. I just, for the life of me, dude, I could not build a team around it. Opponent's going to bring in a Zoroark, and me being in shambles here, we're going to go for a Psy Shock, try to do some chip damage. Opponent actually goes and lets that, gets the shield off of that Psy Shock, which is really nice. We're doing a ton of damage. This person's already legend. They're probably playing around with something. I would love to run Hisuian Zoroark, by the way. It looks like such a fun mon. Based on the pacing that I'm aware of on Shadow Claw, I thought they only had 2 foul plays, but it turns out they actually have 2 Shadow Ball and a foul play, and so that completely catches me off guard, and I feel like I might lose this game. But the opponent's got a Kanto Shadow Muk. And that actually puts Dusknoir in a really good spot, especially after they put up this final shield here to guard against the Psy Shock, which would have done super effective damage, quite a bit of it actually. But Dusknoir here just needs to get to a dynamic punch, and we are absolutely fine. I'm going to go ahead and farm up just a little bit more energy. I only go for 2 here, not 3, because 3 is getting dangerously close to them being a Glaciate. I don't want to risk that chance, but we're going to be able to knock out the Kyurem. The opponent brings back in the Muk, and we have the energy on the Dusknoir that we need to be able to get this knockout. Shadow Punch, number 1. Going to do quite a bit here. Going to go for another Shadow Punch after 2 more Astonishes. Just looking to get this damage through at this point, honestly. The opponent does have access to Dark Pulse, but I was not about to risk taking one of those. We're going to be able to take him out with the Shadow Punch. Good game, well played. Of course, I complain about ABA Flyer teams not making sense, and then they come in with a Hisuian, Zoroark, and Muk team, and I'm like, oh yeah, good game, because we won that one, but of course. But either way, still, we take them where we can get them, man. Aurasphere is going to get the first shield here off this Lapras, and then I'm going to pivot straight into my Dusknoir. The opponent is going to throw a charge move here, and I'm going to let the first one go. At worst, it's an Ice Beam, and this is not going to threaten a knockout or anything close to it. But the opponent's going to bring in a Zygarde, and I'm telling y'all, as soon as I see Zygarde, it's all systems go. No matter what we do, we achieve victory because Zygarde needs to disappear. It needs to go away. This thing is ridiculous, and I know it's really good for PvP, but man, after having sent mine up to Master League and not being able to use it anymore, I'm kind of sad, not going to lie. A little jealous, even. I'm going to farm up a bunch of energy. The opponent has nothing on Zygarde but resisted energy. Everything here is resisted. It's just a bulldoze. And so, we're going to overfarm by a bunch. And then I'm going to look to go for the Aurasphere here after getting about 100 energy. So that no matter what comes in, I'm hopefully able to threaten it with something. And the opponent's going to drop in the Kyurem. No, the Lapras. Sorry, I thought that was a Kyurem. I saw Ice typing. I thought I saw Kyurem. Lapras comes in, has to take this Aurasphere, and the opponent is going to be able to get to a charge move. I'm going to put up my first Protect Shield here to be able to guarantee that I can get an Aurasphere off. And I'm going to try to overfarm by just a little bit more. Just 2 more Pecks, throw the Aurasphere, and then I'm actually going to come in with a Gastrodon here and look to try and sweep with it with a shield advantage. And so the opponent going to farm up some energy on their Lapras, and then they're going to throw it. We're going to be able to take out the Lapras here, thankfully, which I'm going to go ahead and let this go. I don't know what's in the back. I'm going to save the shield. They go for the heavier hitting Ice Beam, but now the opponent's going to unveil their third Pokemon. I don't think they're going to come back in with a very, very low Zygarde. There it is. They're trying to catch the energy here, but this is, again, where I think that having Water Pulse would not be a bad thing to have. We only have resisted damage here, and my Togekiss is well within it's well within 2 Air Slash, or Air Cutter range. And so I have to take a lot of care in how I'm playing this matchup out, and I need to basically make sure that wherever this Corviknight ends up after this, is it's within range of being taken out by an Aurasphere. Opponent's going to cut us off here, though. I'm not willing to put my shield down on this, and the opponent gets an attack boost as well. I'm going immediately for this Aurasphere, and I'm hoping that it's enough. And I'm also, if it's not, then hopefully it'll be really close. It's like, they're on like 1 HP, but they have an Air Cutter. I have to shield this one up. I hope they don't have 2 moves, because if they get a boost off this Air Cutter, and they have 2 moves, I was so confident they didn't have 2 moves, but man, the Sand Attack pacing goes crazy. But we're going to be able to get the Peck down and take that game from the opponent here by the narrowest of victories. Well played to the opponents here. This team, again, I cannot recommend this team enough. And again, shoutouts to Jamar for sharing this team. This team was just so good. Like, there's not words that can cover how good this team felt, other than just go play it, go try it for yourself. Of course, now that I've made a video, people might be more aware of it, but hopefully it helps y'all get some gains in this Ultra League format that is going to rotate out, I believe, tomorrow. Then we get the Championship Cup coming back, which I got a teams video coming up for you tomorrow, so sit tight, hit the notification bell, like, subscribe if you enjoy the content, please and thank you. And after that, we're going to try and make a legend push in that rotation. But if all else fails, Ultra League is going to come back for the final week of the season alongside, I think, Open Master League and Catch Cup. So, yay? I mean, this is a good team to push legend with in the Ultra League, man, if you're going for it. Anyway, let me know if you guys try the team and if it goes well for you. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you as always. Bye-bye.